Okay, let's make those raspberry Nutella crepes that you asked about. Crepes are pretty easy to make. Everyone's got their own way to do it. Some people say you got to make it hours in advance. Some people just say just crack it and throw it in a pan. And I don't like the real super eggy ones. I like the French light ones. So the first thing we're going to do, this recipe, we used to make thousands of these for the country club. So first thing we're going to do, I got 4 tablespoons of butter here. This will make about 12 of them, 11 or 12. The first couple usually, hold on. This will make about 11 or 12. The first couple will usually not come out as great, but they're still crepes. And then you can split this recipe in half fairly easy. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to crack 2 eggs into the bowl. And again, I do my eggs in a separate bowl, just because you never know what's inside of them. Right, get that out of the way. We want that butter melted. We don't want it soft. We really want it melted. You could melt it right in the pan if you want. And sprinkle them lightly. Now these are going to be sweet. They're sweet and savory. Just leave out, and you got 1 pinch of salt. Just enough. You want a little bit of salt for flavor. Okay. And into that we're going to add, that was 2 eggs. We're going to add 2/3 cup of flour. Okay, we get that started. And then we're going to add just a little bit of our milk to start with. I got 1 cup of milk here. We're going to add just maybe about 1/4 of that. Don't have to be exact. What you want to do is you kind of want to get a slurry going. Because if you dumped it all in at once, you would get chunks of flour. And you'd be chasing them around. They're not going to break down. Alright, so this way here it's kind of thick of a paste, and the flour will have a chance to separate. So what I'm doing, I'm shaking back and forth this way, and I'm going around my whip. See, that's nice and smooth. The crepe batter is very, very thin. Alright, we got our melted butter here. Crepe batter is very thin. You're not looking for a pancake. It's a French pancake, but you don't really want a pancake, you know. Alright, so now that we got that nice and smooth, you're not seeing any lumps in there. Let's go ahead and add, for these are going to be sweet, so we're going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Alright, I got my pan on medium right now. You want to go medium-low. You don't want that to be too hot. Okay, then we're going to finish putting the rest of our milk in there. Okay. Now I have a little bit of water reserved, because if this is too thick, we'll thin it out. But it seems to be a nice, thin, watery batter. And then we're going to add our butter right into that. Alright, that's going to be nice and rich, huh? Okay, that's the consistency we're looking for. Now, normally I would say, put 2 ounces, 4 ounces, but I don't know what size pan you got. Okay? So if I said put 2 ounces and you had a little breakfast pan, you'd end up with just way too much inside there. That little shaker bottle that you have works perfect for this. You can put all this stuff in a 24-ounce shaker, 28-ounce shaker with a ball in it, and just shake the pea out of it. You'll end up with it. Alright, so this is fairly thin. I like that. You can make this in advance. Not a big deal. So, I'm going to take a little bit of flour on a paper towel and give it a good wipe around once. Alright? Just one time around. just get the pan started. You got plenty of fat inside of here. All right, so we're not thick, so we're good. So when you do crepes, you want to make sure you got everything ready. You get your little spatula. You want a real thin spatula. Get you a plate out and be ready to go. So when you do these, you don't pour them in the middle. Oh, that's good and hot, right? You don't pour it in the middle. If you pour it in the middle, it's going to go around a little bit, and then you're going to be kind of chasing it all over the place. You're going to pour it off to one side. Then you want to get it and turn the pan and swirl it. Right? So you don't want to empty out your ladle whenever you're scooping whenever you do it. Okay, so what we're going to do is, this is a half cup, but it doesn't matter. So if we end up with little holes that aren't complete, that's going to be fine because you're going to roll that up inside anyway. So we go to one side of it, pour in just a little bit of it, and go ahead and swirl it around like this. Alright, the first one's not going to come out very pretty. They never do. It's like your first pancake. Okay, I got a couple of lumps of flour. I could have done a better job on that. So now we're going to let that sit. Excuse me. Now we're going to let that sit. Alright, now what you're looking for now is along these edges. If I can't get in there a little tighter. Alright, along these edges, you're looking for it to brown up. Okay, you'll see it'll start to get a little bit. The sugar in there is going to get hot, and the sugar will start to caramelize fast. Alright, I'm going to back that back out so you can see where we're at. Alright, the sugar will start to caramelize fast. So check them. Kind of give it a turn over. Look at that. That's got some beautiful color to it, right? Okay, you let them go just for another second or so. Now you can start to see on these edges right here, they're starting to brown off a little bit. Okay, you can get your scoop underneath it there and flip them. They're going to be fragile. All right. You get a nice golden color to it. See, this one's not too bad for the first one. They're usually like any other pancake batter. First one's going to be ugly. We would just grab a hold of it on the inside there and flop it over. But I don't want you to get burned. Alright, so that was about a minute and a half on one side. I'm going to go about another minute and a half on the other side. These are more of the floury type. They have the eggy brand, I mean the eggy type that are more egg-wish, and I don't like them. They're just too much egg in them. Alright, so, and they're only paper thin, so it's not like they're going to take a long time. Alright, see how that looks? That's great. So when you take these out, you're going to turn it back over to put your good side back up. Okay? Be underneath of it and just flop that thing over. Alright, so then you'll have your good side on the bottom. So when you roll these things, you're not going to have a good side on the top, and then when you roll them, you won't have the color. Alright, so now that pan is good. It's been seasoned a little bit. It's had one cooked in it. We're not going to put any more butter in it. There's plenty of fat in there. That's nice and thin, right? Okay, again. Get your pan going. Oops. Get your pan tilted at an angle. Put this up in this corner, just a little bit of it, and swirl it around. Go all the way around the pan. See how I'm doing that? Going all the way around. If you got like a little hole there, you can dab a little bit in there, but it's not going to hurt anything because you're not trying to hold soup or something in it, right? So a little thin hole's not going to hurt. This is an 8-inch pan, so it's fairly large. If we use the breakfast omelet pan, it'd be definitely smaller. I mean, it'd be a 5-inch crepe, which is fine. Now we wouldn't sweeten ours because we would put different things in them. Chicken and mushrooms, and put a sauce on there, a bechamel sauce over the top. And again, I'm going to let this just cook. We're at a medium temperature. I'm going to start to look for that brown edge around its edge. Okay. You can kind of just give it a little bit of a turn over to look to see what color you're at. We're a little bit light still. If you think it's taking too long, you could turn it up just a little bit, but I wouldn't go up too high on these. We would get a super high heat because we want to go through them as fast as we can. This has got little pinholes all through here, which is fine. Now you're starting to see this brown up a little bit, which means the sugar is caramelizing. Okay, make sure it's not sticking on you. Grab a hold there, just be quick with it, all right? And flip it over. We would do the blintzes. We put farmer's cheese, which a little bit of, I think it was orange zest, a little bit of sugar in there to sweeten it up. Put a scoop inside of one of these, fold it once, and roll it twice over. And that'd sit, and that'd be perfect, and we'd make a bunch of those blintzes. Those are those ones I used to bring home. You guys used to love those things. We'd put the cherries on them. Alright, now look at that. Nice color on there. Don't let them go as dark as you want, but that little edge is crispy. So just get that guy out of there, flip it over. See, they're not sticking. I wouldn't recommend doing this in a stainless steel pan. But this non-stick's been around for probably 8 years, and it's still take care of them. All right, again, we're going to turn it sideways, get a little, let it start to roll, and start swirling around. Okay, if you don't have enough to cover your bottom, put a little bit more in there. Give it a shake. Don't take it too far off the heat, because you want to keep it above that heat so we can keep cooking. Now I'm going to sacrifice one of these things while it's cooking and show you. This is nice and light, nice and airy. It's not real eggy. It's got a little bit of stretch to it, which is good. A little crisp on those edges, which is fine. Look at that, it didn't even tear on me, so that's good. Alright, we got good heat on here. The thinner the better is on these. The thinner you can get them as possible. Alright, now look at that, it's starting to brown up real nice. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll do one more. See, this edge here doesn't matter, that's going to be rolled up inside of it. Okay, that's nice, huh? Put that off to the side. Alright. I'm going to grab another scoop. This is a half cup scoop, but like I said, we don't know which size pan you're using. Turn it sideways, get it going, just enough to get it to start to pour, and see where you're at. Go around in circles. You come up the side just a little bit, that's fine. Look at that, that's beautiful, huh? Now, I would make the double recipe the first couple times, just so you can get used to doing it. And I was starting to say earlier, you can make these earlier in the day. I wouldn't go wait overnight with these, but you can make them earlier, a couple hours before you want to make them. You can make these crepes as far in advance you want. You can make them a day or two in advance. Just make sure you wrap them up nice and tight. Okay, and again, good hot pan. We're starting to see the browning around these edges right here. Use your little thin spatula and check them. They look good, huh? Looks good. We'll let that go for another second. Right. And then flip that guy over. Plenty of butter in here, so nothing's going to stick. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and make a bunch more of these. And don't forget, when you got your pretty side is up now, right? Because that's your first side that was down. Took the initial heat, it cooled off, got some nice coloring. So when you pull these off, that was just about not even a minute. Make sure you turn it back over top of your other one. They're going to be hot. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and bang the rest of these out and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we are back. I ended up with 10 or 11. I think I ate one. So we ended up with about 11 out of that. That's a big pan. So what you got to remember is when you put that stuff in there, don't dailing around. Make sure you get that to the position where it's at, because it'll solidify. You'll end up with just a half pancake. We're going to put this out of the way right here. Okay, heavy cream. This is 36%. I guess all heavy cream's going to do something. It's heavy cream. They call some heavy whipping cream, heavy cream. I'm going to put about a half a cup in there, maybe 3/4 of a cup in there. Now this, you can make this sweet. You can put vanilla in it, and you can put sugar in it. But we got plenty of sugar in here, right? We got plenty of sugar that's going to be in the raspberries. And we sure in the heck got sugar inside this Nutella. You know that. So what we're going to do, with making heavy cream, you're basically whipping air into it until it gets to a point to where it can't take any more air, and then it'll separate, and then the milk solids will come out of it, and the water will come out of it, and you'll end up with butter. Maybe we'll do that afterwards. So you're going to use this guy. You can use a whip, no problem. Make sure your cream is cold and your bowl is cold. I just pulled that out of the freezer. Alright, just going to let this go here. You don't want to just go ahead and jack this up at high speed. You want it to take its time. It doesn't take long. Make sure you're doing this in a deep bowl. It'll make a mess. You can see it's starting to froth up already. Regular sugar works best, or powdered sugar works best for it, but regular sugar will work just fine. It'll break down and liquefy. Okay, now you can see how it's starting to get little layers and layers on top of it. Now if you were using it without power, you'd be whipping and going around side to side and turning it. You could turn your bowl to make sure you get everything. But we're going to go ahead with power again. I got this on 3. And what we're looking for is firm peaks. Okay, right now it's still a little shaky. Now you can see it's starting to be nice there. Look at that, it's starting to fluff up very nice. And there's a point to where it'll just be too much. You'll see it's starting to break. So right now, that looks pretty good, don't it? You can see how stiff that is, huh? That's nice and stiff. So at this point, you want to just kind of give it a couple little turns, just to make sure everything's incorporated nicely. You don't have any soft spots. Look at that. That's nice and firm. Get that out of the way. And it is not sweetened, so if you sweeten it, it would have tasted like the classic super sweet whipped cream. Alright, we're going to grab our Nutella. That stuff is wonderful. I can't believe I never tried that. I'm going to take a spoon. A little teaspoon for our whipped cream. Do it right on here. This stuff is super rich, isn't it? Alright, looks like I got about 2 tablespoons in there. Be careful, you don't want to tear your guy. You're going to make 2 of these per person for dessert, or 1. Then with your raspberries, I'm thinking, me personally, I would take the raspberries and just mush them up. Okay, look what we got, huh? See, I didn't go dead center. I came this way just a little bit to give me some room to fold over the top of this. Okay. Don't lick your fingers if you're doing this for guests. Okay. And I didn't go past the edge. I didn't want to go all the way to the end because you would have rolled it once and it would have been not enough to fill it. Okay, it's looking good so far, huh? I'm going to do another one. And then this is why you put your good side down. Because now when you roll them up, you're going to have the good side up. Okay, this one's kind of trashed a little bit. That's okay. See, that one you could have turned it sideways and started from the broken end. But this is just going to be for me and one other person. These, you can put these in a shaker jar as well, and just shake the daylights out of them, and they would break up nicely. Alright, see, I didn't go dead center, I came this way just a little bit. Okay, now we got our good sides going to be showing. Let's get that out of the way. Before I go any further, several ways of doing crepes. A lot of times we used to take them and fold them in half this way, and fold them in half this way. And you put two on a dessert like this. They'd put different things on there. Granulated on it was always good, with the whipped cream and stuff. So there's one way to fold them up. You put your ingredients in them and fold them over a couple times like that. You'd have little pockets inside of there. Alright, let's get back to this guy, huh? Alright, I'm going to grab our whipped cream. It's nice and fluffy. Put a couple dabs on there. Make extra raspberries because you gotta have raspberries, right? There they are. Look at those guys, huh? Now, if you wanted to get a little fancy, you could take your Nutella there, and just give it a little swipe on both sides of your dessert plate. And just take a very small amount of whipped cream and just kind of touch it like that. Stick a raspberry in that guy. We used to do that because you'd make a mess on the plate. So you'd decorate the plate up a little bit, make it look like it was on purpose. And there we go. Nutella, raspberry, whipped cream. Get that guy in line. We're going to make a mess. Now here we go. We have the savory whipped cream, unsweetened, right? So we're going to put a pinch of salt in that. 2 pinches of salt. Let's grab our mixer back. All right. Now this is just the regular whipped cream. We didn't do anything to it, so let's keep going on this guy for now. And let's see what happens. So now if you look at it, let me stop that. We want to get in here and see this. Alright, that's good. Look at it, it looks still nice and fluffy. Now look at it, it's starting to break up a little bit. This is what it means when it's breaking. Okay, now the water is starting to separate, and if you look at it, it doesn't look too appealing anymore, does it? I hope I got enough light in there to see that. It doesn't look too appealing anymore. So now what's happening is the water is going to reverse out of it, and end up with a mess. This is called broken whipped cream. Now you can start to see milk starting to show up at the bottom. Okay. Let's keep going on this. Now you get to a point to where it's just going to make a total mess. So I'm going to slow this down in a second. Alright, slow it down. Now look at all that milk that came out of that. I'm going to lift this up and spin it off real fast. Look at all the milk that came out of that right there. Okay, we had just made butter out of the whipped cream. So at this point you would try to gather up as much as you can. Right? And then I'm going to dump this off. That's just milk. Okay, we're going to keep going a little bit more. Now the churning process with this, they would use a churner and they would keep going. They would keep beating this, and there's no way for that liquid to go back into the butter, because the butter is just pure milk fat. Okay? And we didn't put a whole lot of salt in it because we didn't want to have it too salty to use. Okay, so now look at this. Now we even have more milk that came out of it. Alright? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dump that out. It's a little too salty to drink. I don't know if that's whey or curds or... And a little bit more. There we go. Another teaspoon came out of that. I'm going to plop this into a bowl. Now if you wanted, you could have done this first and use this butter in your crepes. That would have been excellent. Now look what we got here. And it's this pure salted butter. You didn't have to put salt in it, it would have been unsalted. This is going to be a little bit waterier than regular butter will be, but if you refrigerate that, that is going to solidify just like any other butter would. And it's good on everything. Alright, I thought I'd throw that in there for you. We're going to go one step further on this. Let's get this pan hot. Okay, our pan is hot. Let's use up some of this butter. I'm going to grab about a teaspoon of that. Look what we got there. It's nothing like any other butter would do, right? Yeah, it's going to be a buttery egg. Look at that, it's frying up beautiful, huh? Get a little pinch of salt on there. That'll give you an idea how butter's made. And it's usable. It'll burn just like any other butter will. I'm going to poke that so it cooks. Give it a little flip over. And there we go. Alright, you don't need to watch me fry the egg the rest of the way. I just wanted to show you how this stuff works.